Why, hello again, my unconventional conventionalists. Guess what time it is? That's right, time once again for Bad Girls Rants. Now, this week's topic, I'm a little late to the party too, just because I was so tied up with my new retail job and the Spice Girl show. But I'm ready to talk about it now. Let's talk about the anti-trans laws that have been passed in North Carolina and are being attempted to be passed in other states in America. This law says that all trans people must use the public restroom as designated on their birth certificates. North Carolina is the only one that's actually made this law see its final product. However, there are others. South Dakota tried to pass the same law, but theirs was vetoed. Virginia, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Alabama also tried to pass this same law, but theirs just outright failed. Wasn't even considered. And finally, Washington, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kentucky, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana are also trying to pass this law, but theirs are still in the pending stage. So, like, well, that accounts for what? A third of America? Really? Is that what we're about now? Discrimination? Aren't we over that? Isn't the year 2016? And of course, ex-presidential candidate Ted Cruz didn't help the matter either. Yeah, he had some really sweet comments to say about this, let me tell you. His comments were, "Men should not be allowed to enter the women's restroom. Nobody wants our daughters using the restroom alongside adult men where they can be sexually harassed or molested." Okay, stop right there, motherfucker. There is so many things wrong with your statement. For one, why are you only making it about trans women? What about trans men? You know, people who were born into the bodies of women but identify as men, and some of them actually take the hormones to transition into men, therefore become trans men? Yeah, they exist! They're a thing! What about them? No, you're only considering trans women. You know why? Because you think every single trans person in existence is exactly like Caitlyn Jenner. But no, that's not the case. Just like how every individual is different, every trans individual is different too. And we are not rapists, alright? We're just trying to take a fucking piss. As a matter of fact, trans people are common victims of rape. Both trans women and trans men. As a matter of fact, in the case of trans men, frequently the rapist isn't even sexually attracted to him, but rather commits the crime specifically to humiliate and degrade the trans man. Now let's talk a little bit more about how trans men come into this law that North Carolina has decided to put up. So, North Carolina's logic is, if they pass this law, then there will not be any men dressed as women entering the women's restroom. Well, actually, no, you're gonna have even more obvious men in the women's restroom now, because if everyone must go by their birth certificate, that means trans men, you know, the ones with deep, burly voices, body hair, and very frequently facial hair. So now you're forcing these extremely masculine-looking people to go into the women's restroom and use women's toilets because their birth certificate says they are female, but they don't look the least bit female. They look quite male. And it's going to make ladies who don't get it and aren't even aware of the law, believe it or not, there's some clueless people who don't really understand how the law works, and they're going to see these men come into the bathroom, and they're going to freak out a hell of a lot more than they would have if a trans woman would have come in and just done business. Because we look like women, alright? We look like we dress like women. We do our best to talk like women. Our voices don't change with hormones, but goddammit, we try. If you gave any self-respecting woman, even a bigot woman, the choice of a trans woman or a trans man to use the bathroom in the stall next to them, I'll tell you right now, they will choose the trans woman! And let's talk about the solution that has been discussed about making a third public restroom just for trans people. Oh, so we're just gonna mosey on down the restroom hallway. It's like, oh look, men's restroom. Oh look, women's restroom. Oh look, door number 3, trans restroom. Huh, where have we seen this before? Let's jump in the TARDIS and time travel back to the 1940s when you walked down a restroom hallway and said, look, a men's restroom. Oh look, a women's restroom. Oh look, a colored restroom! It's the same thing! It's the same segregation! It's the same discrimination! We don't live in that era anymore! This is the 21st century! God damn it! Just let us fucking pay! Not to mention it's quite illegal. Yeah, it's kind of illegal to enforce discrimination laws now, and North Carolina is actually in some deep shit, and they only have a certain amount of time to withdraw the law or face serious consequences and penalties. So, this shouldn't be a problem for much longer, but it really shouldn't have been a problem to begin with. This has been Bad Girls Rants. Salute! I feel better.
Bad to the bone. Bad to the bone. Bad